Good evening from Allen Fieldhouse and Lawrence, Kansas. I'm Brendan Dzwierzynski with your 580 Sports Talk Jayhawks instant reaction post-game show. A thrilling, gutsy win for the Kansas Jayhawks on Friday night in a clash of the champions. The last two men's college basketball Division I national champions going head-to-head tonight, and it's the Kansas Jayhawks coming out on top with a 69-65 win over the UConn Huskies. It was tough. It was gritty. It was a little nasty at sometimes. Things got a little bit ugly, especially at the start of the second half for KU, but they come away with the victory. A few incredible individual performances in this one. We'll get to those in just a moment. The story of the game, it felt like it was going to possibly be KU in a runaway in this one. Jayhawks led by a dozen points a couple of times in the first half. That was arguably, in fact, I would say almost inarguably, the best half of basketball for KU this year in the first half. The defensive intensity was off the charts good. Offensively, they were using that defense to turn into transition opportunities. They were moving the ball well on offense, knocked out a couple of shots from beyond the arc. They got Hunter Dickinson involved early, which we know is so imperative for this KU team. And again, it felt at 38-26 like this might be a runaway game for KU with just a few minutes to go until time. But you give credit to UConn. In fact, a massive amount of credit to UConn. That is a really well-coached team. That is a very talented team. And there's a reason that they're coming off of a national championship of their own just a year ago in a manner that Bill Self talked about just moments ago in his post-game press conference. Nobody touched them in the NCAA tournament last year. They've got a pedigree just like this Kansas team does. And they muddied the game up. And in fact, were able to even take a lead 47-46. That was the first time all game that UConn had a lead. They turned up the defensive intensity. Michael Swain of Fog.net, our friend every Tuesday on 580 Sports Talk, he made the point that KU's driving lanes, their opportunities inside, just completely walled off in the second half. And that's a huge credit to the UConn defense. But KU still was able to dig down deep and found a way to pull this game out. They came up with a couple of big shots late. We know how much this team struggles and is going to struggle this year with three-point shooting. But you had a couple makes in this game from Hunter Dickinson, and Kevin McCullough, more than anybody, came up with a couple of huge ones in the second half. One to tie the game up, one to then take the lead at 55-54 at that moment late in the second half. And the Jayhawks were able to just barely hold on to the lead from there. And I actually misspoke. One was to take the lead, and then one was to extend the lead, 55-54, and then 58-54. It's been a long night. It's been a busy night. And it was a big night for Kevin McCullough as well. The individual performances in this game that were remarkable, I told you about a couple of those. The first one we'll get to, Kevin McCullough. He has been tremendous. My partner, Dan Lucero from 580 Sports Talk, he put it on Twitter. He's just a great, fantastic college basketball player. And when KU needs a big bucket, when it needs to have a play in the clutch, this year, it's Kevin McCullough's show. It's number 15, the sixth-year senior from San Antonio. He is the go-to guy because he can get downhill. He can shoot the ball decently. He's been better shooting the ball this year than he was throughout the majority of last season. He came up huge a couple of times in this game. The other double-figure scorers in this one for KU, we got to start with KJ Adams. And we all know at this point what KJ Adams has been through, what the story of KJ Adams' year and season has been. Obviously, the tragic passing a couple weeks ago, in fact, on a Friday night, of his mother, Yvonne. Bill Self even put it in post-game just a little bit ago. He was playing for more than just Kansas in this game. In fact, he's heading down to his hometown in Austin, Texas, just after this game tonight. He was heading down this evening. The coaching staff is going to head down shortly after for proceedings for the Adams family. But he was fantastic in this game. Danny Hurley mentioned it, that he is just so difficult to game plan for and so difficult to match up with because of his size and because of his strength. It's not just the size height-wise, because shoot, we saw him all last year as an undersized five-man. He's not exactly huge at the four spot either, but he is so big, he is so tough, and as Hurley put it, he can move around like a guard as well. It makes it hard to game plan for offensively with that short roll game, and really hard to plan for defensively too. He was great in this game. 18 points for the Jayhawks, ended up with 5 rebounds well, 2 blocks, a steal, a pair of assists. It was a do-everything kind of game for KJ Adams. And you got to give credit to Hunter Dickinson as well. He was better in the first half than he was in the second half, had 10 points in the first half, just 5 after the break, and a rare, not super efficient shooting day. As far as 7'2" centers go, just 6 of 12 before again. Knocked down a handful of three-pointers. I actually shortchanged him earlier. He had 3 three-pointers in the contest, not just a pair of them. So he came up big offensively throughout this game for KU. And defensively was solid as well. Getting on the floor, matched up pretty well with Donovan Clingan, the big man for UConn. And as Self put it, look, they didn't play a ton through Clingan in this game. This wasn't, have to watch, they have to spotlight it throughout the game. They didn't play through their big man a lot. But called upon Dickinson, pretty solid in a matchup there. We should also point out Marco Jackson in this game. Every single starter in this one, and I want to make sure I get the numbers right here. Every single starter played at least couple of seconds in this contest, and you didn't see a whole lot from Johnny Furphy. He played a decent amount in this contest, ended up with just about 14 minutes, hit a couple of three-pointers, but you didn't see a ton from this bench, and well, we know you're not going to see a ton from this bench all year. We also, I forgot to mention Parker Brown, who played a whopping in this contest 2 minutes and 28 seconds. That's all you got from Parker Brown today. So it was all about the starting lineup. They all played 32 plus minutes, and got to give credit to Marco Jackson. I know a lot of folks were saying during the contest it looked like some of the best basketball he's played all season. I thought very much the same from watching in the media seating. And there was a moment in this game late in the second half. KU was up by 3 points. In transition, he was looking for KJ Adams. It was actually Hunter Dickinson who pointed, get the ball over there, cross court, reverse it on the other side of the court, and he threw it 8 feet over KJ's head darn near, tipped off of KJ's fingertips and flew into the crowd. Self said that was one of the worst offensive plays of the season. But then on the other end of the floor, he comes up with a massive defensive play, poking the ball away from a big man for UConn. It went off of the Huskies out of bounds. KU takes over possession again with just a 3-point lead. Those are the kind of things KU needs to see continually progressing from these young guys, from the guys who are playing at the 2 spot for this Jayhawks team. It's Furphy, it's Jackson, and it's Nick Timberlake as well. Although for Furphy and Jackson, they haven't been in college basketball all that long. That's a little bit more slow development. For Timberlake, he's more of an experienced player. Obviously, another 6-year senior. It's just about getting him in a rhythm, somehow figuring out a way to get him a little bit more momentum offensively. Want to get to a quick comment here before I give a shout out to one specific player for UConn. This is from JayHawker83 on YouTube. He says, UConn threw in 5 years worth of crap shots in this game. And Self brought that up too during postgame just a little bit ago, that, hey, even when we gave up 3-pointers, we being Kansas in this case, they were guarded. And I thought Kansas did a great job guarding the 3-point line, getting out there close and forcing a guy like Tristan Newton to just make circus shots. And that's who I wanted to give a shout out to in this game, because Tristan Newton was unbelievable. Self called him the best player on the floor. I think KJ Adams and Kevin McCullough have a claim to that too. But Newton was just great for UConn. 31 points in the game. He led UConn in points, rebounds, and assists in this one. He just made shot after shot after shot. Really impressive outing for him, but it does come in a loss, and KU is going to happily take that every single time. So again, Kansas wins tonight 69-65. They knock off UConn in a battle of the last 2 men's college basketball national champions. KU in a pretty rarefied air here. 13-0 now in 13 games at Allen Fieldhouse, at which KU has been the lower-ranked team than their opponent. Every single Bill Self stat sounds crazier and crazier than the last. We'll be talking about this game coming up on Monday on 580 Sports Talk. We'll recap this one and obviously get to a crazy weekend in college football and the NFL. Chiefs-Packers, Conference Championship weekend, all that coming up Monday on 580 Sports Talk. But first, I'm Brendan Dzwierzynski signing off on our Jayhawks Instant Reaction post-game show. The Kansas Jayhawks, number 5 in the country, beat the number 4 ranked UConn Huskies 69-65 to improve to 7-1 on the season. We'll talk to you guys coming up on Monday. For now, so long from Allen Fieldhouse and Lawrence.